Get woke, go broke when Disney posted $29.7 billion of gross profits the last 12 months. Hello, this is Robert Romano with comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about corporate profits, gross profits at parent companies like Disney, publicly traded companies with hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap and investment in these companies. It just turned 100 years old this year, Disney. And they've been putting out a lot of what I would call radical social engineering style content. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, has lots of names. Going woke is another one. And it's supposed to result in, we've had boycotts of Disney resulting. I've joined one of those. This is the Cara Dune rebellion shirt that Anna, that Star Wars girl, had made after Disney wrongly fired Gina Carano from The Mandalorian. Haven't watched an episode since, and I don't want to support them. I don't want to support Disney, but my voice as a customer might not mean much if they're still earning billions and billions of dollars of profits as they are. And it might mean that there's larger things at play. But why am I talking about this today? And we'll just kind of cut into it here. On Twitter, and there's a lot of controversy right now around crowdfunding versus selling right away, pre-printing books or crowdfunding, and what's going to take longer. Should you get your books right away, or should we be investing in creators who might take a little longer to get their projects out there? So this is from Nerdrotics, at Nerdrotics on Twitter. He says, good news. All those indie comic creators that have time to bitch about Eric July must be done with their books that you paid for. You should all be seeing them soon. Now, Nerdrotics, in case you don't know, this is a massive also YouTube channel, 936,000 subscribers. This is a huge business. They're at Nerdrotic, and if you can see right here, right? I just did a little search for broke. Wanted to see when are they talking about get woke, go broke? Because this is a central thesis that these companies, they're going to put out content that we hate. And then there'll be boycotts, and the customers will rise up, and then these companies that get woke, they're going to go broke. Right? Here's an example: woke Hollywood is broke, and more cringe is on the way. DC Comics bloodbath, get woke, go broke, massive layoffs, RIP your comic shops. Now the comic shops may actually go under, but I don't think Disney's going under anytime soon. Here's a Hollywood playlist. Let's see, top 5 woke Hollywood disasters of 2022. Why woke Hollywood is down. So there's a content model here. You're going to talk about companies like Disney, like Warner, Discovery, and say that, hey, this content, we don't like it. And it's failing. It's not doing as well as expected at the box office, or they're losing money even. Except I don't think that's true. I don't think some of these box office results are, in fact, considered commercial failures, and they're not doing as well as they ought to be. But in terms of the bottom line, I have a serious objection to this line of criticism. I want to talk about this because when are they going to go broke? I ask with respect, since time is so critical. We're worried about the late books of small and larger, independent creators. Are they going to be on time with their books, like Eric July? Are they going to be a little late? Maybe, Ethan Van Sciver. He's got Rainbow to Brute. He's always delivered. So I'm 100% confident that I'm going to get Rainbow to Brute. It is late though. But what about get woke, go broke? When's that going to happen, guys? With respect, since time is so critical, when should we expect Disney, having gone woke for at least 6 years? That's when the Last Jedi came out 6 years ago, to actually go broke. My chart doesn't go back that far. It appears to show $29.7 billion of gross profits the past 12 months, and a sea of in the green going back to at least 2009. But in 100 years, and anyone, please look this up. I love facts. I will adjust my opinion, presented with new facts, because I have to, at my day job, we have to look at lots of charts. Sometimes you get a number wrong. It's like, I need to correct that number. I need to make sure that we're doing this correctly. I'm a VP of public policy. We have to look at numbers all day long. And we're going to look at a bunch of numbers today. In 100 years, has Disney ever posted a loss at the parent company? Maybe during the Great Depression or the 1970s with the Great Inflation, which is more likely. that with their radical brand of social pamphleteering, they will file for bankruptcy anytime soon, or that we will all die first? Is there a date certain? When does get woke, go broke come true? Is it even true? And so here's a Nerdrotic, podcast or whatever. The Nerdrotic Nooner. Disney is a disaster. The year of get woke, go broke. And this was on November 22, 2022. A year later, what happened at Disney? Well, let's go to the charts. Let's see here. Disney annual quarterly profit history and growth rate. This is macrotrends.net. If you want to just look up companies and see how profitable they are, it's really easy to do. You can just pretty much just go on macrotrends.net and then find your company and then go to gross profit. And you're going to see, are these companies operating in the green or in the red? Are they making money or are they losing money? Because in business, all that matters is profits. So gross profit. Disney gross profit for the past 12 months ending September 30, 2023 was $29.697 billion. That was a 4.86% increase year over year. Wow, they're making more money this year than they were last year when this when this tweet was put up. Well, how about that? How could that be? I thought they were going to get woke and go broke. But no, they made $29.7 billion. And so that was a 4.86% from increase from 2022. In 2022, they made $28.3 billion in profits. No loss. 27% increase from 2021. And in 2021, they made $22.3 billion, a 3.6% increase from 2020. So then when you scroll down, you can actually look at all of their profits every single year going back to 2009. So macro trends will go back to 2009. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, oh, wow, look at that. And in fact, they've posted profits every single year. Now there's some times when they make a little less profit than in other years. But generally speaking, they're not posting any losses. And so I would, go back to my challenge, which is, in 100 years, has Disney ever posted a loss? So it's like, oh, wow, I bet let's look it up. I mean, they're going to get woke and go broke anytime, any minute now, right, guys? So at least on Wikipedia, I can find financial data going back to 1991. And I see, and this is a little different. This is actually a different type of number, annual gross revenues. But I don't see any negative. I don't see any negative revenues here. I just see the number going up and up and up. So in total, in 1991, it was 6.1 billion, 92, 7.5 billion, 93, 8.5 billion, 94, 10.4 billion, and on and on and on. Now, there were some years where where the number's a little less than in another year. So, for example, in 2009, they made 36.1 billion in gross revenue. And that was a little less than in 2008 when they made 37.8 billion in gross revenue. But that doesn't mean they lost any money. It just means that they're still making money and just made slightly less than the year before that. And so these numbers go up to 2018 to 2020. Let's see, 2023, their revenues, annual gross revenues, as of right now, $88.9 billion. So that's before, you have things that make money, you have things that lose money. So you have revenues and then you have profits. So here you have 88.9 billion in gross revenue. And then, and that works out to, let's see here, $29.7 billion in gross profits. And in business, all that matters is profits. So I'm going to posit that they're not only are they not going broke, they may never go broke. This is a massive company, hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap, raking in billions of dollars every year. Doesn't matter what the entertainment division, if they lose a little money, doesn't matter if Disney Plus, they lost a few streaming customers this month. None of that seems to matter to their parent company's bottom line. They have theme parks, they have licensing, they're selling t-shirts, they're doing all sorts of things that still make lots and lots of money on balance when all things are considered. So they can probably afford to subsidize their propaganda mill at Disney Studios, at Marvel Studios. They can make as much woke content as they want and make that's all that's available. And there's nothing that customers can really do about it via a boycott per se. I mean, they can voice their displeasure. We can make YouTube videos about it and say that they're going broke. Woke Hollywood is already broke, according to this one 10 days ago. They're already broke. Who knew? But so I guess we can make YouTube channels that to get woke, go broke, and about things that are demonstrably untrue, and collect super chats and have a big business about it. And close to 1 million subscribers. This must be a profitable YouTube channel. Maybe lying to your audience is profitable. Maybe we should keep doing that. Let's lie to our audience about what's really happening at these corporations. Is that so? Which dream is more, kind of cynical? Is it the dream that a small-time creator might get their book out? It might be the only book they ever make. It's like, oh, we're going to have some late books, but they're going to deliver. I'll be honest with you. I've backed, 373 books on Indiegogo. I've backed a few on a few other platforms as well. Also, check out Fund My Comic. This is a alternative to Indiegogo. A lot of creators have been getting shadow banned, and you can find a lot of small-time creators here that are, raising money for their books. Some are going to be more successful than others. Some are going to be on time. Some are going to be late because these are starving artists. This is if you're making an indie comic book, like you better love what you're doing, because almost certainly it's not going to be that profitable. Is this a business? Is going to art school a business? Or are you trying to build your portfolio? Maybe you'd like to work for one of the big two, make it big in comics or something like that. But you need a portfolio. So either you're going to go to school and spend money to learn how to draw and to hone your craft. Or maybe you're a young artist and you could do crowdfunding and fund your project and then gauge demand and then go to print and then be able to get your books out there and then be able to show that to publishers and say, hey, I can make my own books. I've made 5 books. I've made 10 books or whatever. And so, I've backed a lot of books. I believe in, subsidizing artists to fund their dreams. I think that's a really good thing. I think we should be funding dreams. We should be funding real dreams, like Fiendish, chapter 2.5, The Mythicals, number 2. These are artist dreams. They might not be the most profitable things to do. People probably work in, maybe they're working full-time jobs and they want to do this on the side. I'd love to do that. I love to draw. I want to do Children of the Grave. I want to make a graphic novel before I die. That would be nice. So I started comicsgate.org. I wanted to do that. I started that in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic because I saw a lot of starving artists who are having trouble growing their YouTube channels. John Malin said, grab an oar. I said, I could do that. Hey, I've got comicsgate.org. I bought it in November of 2019. Let's make this work. Let's start to find all the YouTube channel of comic skaters and promote their channels. And I think that's a good thing. I think we should be promoting everyone's channels. I think that's a good thing. I think we should do that. And so I've backed over 350 books, almost 400 books. Let's see what I backed most recently. So here's Billy Tucci, She #1 30th anniversary original art edition. Billy Tucci, he's like the godfather of indie comics. He's been doing this forever. He's done some stuff for the big two or on the side. Really, he didn't need it. He made his fortune just doing being an indie comic extraordinaire. Billy Tucci. So let's see what else we got here. We got Aaron Lepresti. These are just the last few projects I backed. Kit Carter, Planet Doom graphic novel on Indiegogo. Hey, look at that. It's almost at $100,000. Aaron Lepresti can, be able to do this full time and get his books. Are they going to be, are they 100% on time? Maybe something goes wrong with the printer. I don't know, but he's always delivered. I'm not particularly concerned. I don't even remember what the due date is. I don't give a shit. I know that he's going to deliver this book, and I want to make sure that Aaron Lepresti is able to continue working in this industry because he's really good. He's really talented. And these books are really good. I really enjoyed Rate the God. I just got Blood Hunters in the mail. I want to go read that too. Here's Narwhal, one of my favorite creators. He's never worked at any of the big two companies or at Image or anywhere else. He's an indie comic creator. He was, I believe, working in a deli before Comicsgate. And because of Comicsgate, now he's able to do this. He cranks out books. I think he might have the most pages for this little indie comics explosion since 2018. If you count them all up, like he can crank out a 100-page book every year, it seems like. And the Earthbound series, I just got Grand Prix in the mail. I'm looking forward to reading that. I've really enjoyed the Earthbound series. I've also, Nosferatu was extraordinary. On the 100th year anniversary of Nosferatu, he did his own graphic novel version of it. It was amazing. Foreign Agent. Oh my God! If you haven't checked out Foreign Agent, you got to get a copy of Foreign Agent. Narwhal Perberg here. He's got Hotel Story available right now on Indiegogo. It's in demand. Let's see what else is in here. The Black Phantom. Here's Chad Townsend. Great guy. I like Chad a lot. And he's got the Black Phantom, cool looking character here. He's raised about $16,000. I love this. And now, can you work full time with $16,000? Probably not. This is a labor of love, but he's going to prove that he can deliver. And then maybe, in going forward, when he gets to Black Phantom 2, I bet you can get that number up. Seems that the indie creators, they're able to, when they come out with their sequel or they find a property that people really want to tap into, the customers really want, then you can see that number start to go up and maybe get to close to six figures. 6 figures here. I think that Kit Carter, guaranteed that's going to go to 6 figures. In my eyes, I think that's going to be true. So here's Chad Townsend with the Black Phantom. You can check that out on Indiegogo. Here's Crystal McGee, The Good Night, Paradise Lost, #2. This is clearly a labor of love. It's only raised $5,400. I'm sure that will pay to go to print, pay for the artist. She's got a hand. These are hand painted art pieces, I believe, that are in the interiors. And so this is going to be, it's a little different. It's not your typical, superhero fare. It's a little more my neck of the woods, a little fantasy. That's cool. I want to support Crystal McGee. It's like we talk a lot about private education. Well, being an indie creator is kind of like a private education. So if I have extra money, I want to invest it in creators who are going to, who are going to put it into their books and they're going to get them out. Even if it's late, I'm 100% confident that Crystal McGee will deliver. And so will these creators on Fund My Comic. Check that out, fundmycomic.com. And you can find other creators who don't want to get shadow banned on Indiegogo or Kickstarter or even get kicked off those platforms. I'm working on a crowdfunder myself. That's going to be at comicsgate.com. It's almost done. It might not be the most profitable venture in the world, but I do believe in this. And that's why I started comicsgate.org. I'm going to keep on going. I want to grab an oar. I think that indie creators, I would rather invest in these dreams for these creators than in pipe dreams and telling people that Disney's going to go woke. Well, they won't go woke a long time ago, that they're going to go broke any minute now. Just you wait. They're going to go broke. We'll be dead and they'll still be a Disney company. They're not filing for bankruptcy anytime soon, I think. Maybe the economy will get hit by an asteroid or something. Maybe the United States will experience a national bankruptcy. I think the Office of Management and Budget is projecting that by 2033, the national debt will be over $50 trillion. By my own calculations, the national debt, once you factor in recessions and wars, has been growing by more than 8% a year since 1980. And at that rate, at 8% a year, once you factor in recessions and wars, there could be another recession on the horizon right now. Maybe that'll be true. Maybe it won't be. I think it might be. I think the unemployment rate's set to probably go up as the inflation rate cools off. It could hit $100 trillion, the national debt, by about 2037, 2040, thereabouts. So maybe there'll be a national bankruptcy because we just accumulated too much debt, entitlement spending, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The spending just got too large, and then the entire economy collapsed, and then companies like Disney went bankrupt. I think that would be a more likely reason for U.S. corporations to lose money or to go bankrupt. Would be especially a massive company like Disney, just a household name. Like, is anyone really think it's going to go anywhere? I know. I think that they're going to probably continue to rake in tens of billions of dollars in profits, and our voices as customers, sadly, will not have much of an impact upon that. That said, I do believe that Disney and other companies that are doing this diversity, equity, and inclusion types of hiring, racial and gender hiring quotas, I think that could definitely be illegal. I actually didn't know too much about environmental, social, and governance investing until Ethan Van Sciver suggested. cyber fraud creator, that there were federal or some sort of government incentive or subsidy for this type of woke crap that we're seeing. And it turns out it was true. There was investment regulations under ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. That's called ERISA. You have Labor Department regulations under ERISA that impact about 1/3 of retirement investments into defined benefit and defined contribution employer-based plans. Another third is a kind of unregulated individual retirement accounts. That's where companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, they're going to, they accumulate these individual retirement accounts. They're going to vote on the boards of directors. They're going to make sure that, like, you have an environmental component. You're going to have green activists taking over the boards of directors of like Exxon Mobil's, and then so they can lower oil production and move to some green alternatives, and have net neutral carbon or something like that by 2030 or 2050 or whatever their utopian goals are in this regard. Or you're going to have diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring that, in my view, violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, that you're not supposed to have racial and gender hiring quotas. You can't have racial and gender or religious hiring discrimination. But that's exactly what these companies have been doing. It goes into woke left-wing corporations, into ESG funds, and it's insanely profitable. When ExxonMobil lowers production, the price of oil goes up, as it did in 2022. And then ExxonMobil, despite going woke, breaks in record profits. But when I brought this up, this was in 2021. I wasn't even the one who said, maybe get woke, go broke. It's not going to be true. But I tend to think that now, having thought a bit more about it. But when this was brought up, you could go back and look in 2021, prior to me doing this interview with Ethan Van Sciver, try to find some information about people who are really honing in on this, noting the Title VII violations under the DEI aspect of this. And let me know if you can find a lot of references. I think a lot of the references happen after this, after Ethan appears on Dana Lausch's program, suggests that there's this subsidy, and then I investigate it. If Ethan hadn't gone on Dana Lausch and suggested this, and then he did this tweet. He says, SJWs are acting panicky at my suggestion that there might be some kind of financial incentive in the form of a private or government grant of some kind for comic book publishers to use race, sexuality, and gender swap. To race, sexual, gender swap characters in their comics. Nothing to see here, I guess. So I investigated, and there are incentives. And you have Labor Department regulations. You have SEC regulations. You have the Thrift Savings Plan from the federal government. You have state employee pensions in Colorado, California, New York, other blue states that are investing in this. But when this got brought up, you know what we were told by some of the biggest YouTubers, the anti-woke YouTubers, was that this might be demoralizing to the audience to learn about this. Here was Eric July in November of 2022. He says, quote, I believe that conservatives and libertarians bringing up the power of BlackRock, ESG, etc., as it pertains to Hollywood entertainment is not simply useless. So he's saying it's useless, but it's not only useless. I can make the argument that it incentivizes lack of action because it pretends that what is current is inevitable. So if we report that Disney is actually raking in tens of billions of dollars, despite the largest YouTubers saying that they're going broke, we're going to demoralize people. So does that mean that we should lie to our audience? I think the truth sets you free. I got to deal with the truth. I got to, we're going to email Congress. We're going to try to, get them to, after, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know too much about ESG until Ethan brought this up. And then I said, I went and talked to my boss. I said, hey, I think we missed the boat on this. What the hell were we doing in 2020 when the Trump administration was doing supposed to be rolling back these, ESG regulations? It's like, we were trying to what we were doing, Americans for Limited Government. We had a comment on that, but it had to do with investment in China. We wanted to say that, investing in China is not transparent and doesn't conform with the prudent man standard under ERISA. Now, the Trump administration, they came out with their own regulation that sort of undid what the Obama administration had, but it still allowed for ESG investment. And in fact was that ESG investing grew more under the Trump administration than any other administration. Biden's gone even further. He's allowing the Thrift savings plan to make these types of investments. But let's go back to this thread here. Of all establishment entertainment, Hollywood is the easiest to defund. Eric July says. So I guess maybe the invisible hand of the market. So this is very philosophical. Like your Adam Smith, the invisible hand of the market is going to take care of this. Get woke, go broke. If we don't like it, it'll go away because we will demand better product, or as he likes to say, or better movies or books or whatever. I don't think it's happening, though. I think they have a perverse incentive not to do that. I think there are government incentives to continue doing exactly what they're doing. Almost everything they produce is entirely elective and not needed. Nothing they have has to be. But it certainly relies upon your money to exist in its current capacity. So he's arguing for a boycott. Some of these are multinational corporate entities. However, they absolutely rely on American dollars. More accurately, you do not get as big as they are and maintain it unless you have funding from different sides of the political spectrum. It's not worth mentioning these external investments. So he's saying, don't mention it. Just ignore this very, impossible to defeat subsidy where, BlackRock and Vanguard have trillions of dollars to invest in, basically, green and woke types of investments. We could just boycott them and we could defeat, $10 trillion hedge funds. No problem. There has been no such effort until you've seen some money withheld from customers over a sustained period of time. There has been no such effort. In fact, people will make every excuse or whataboutism to justify funding them, or talking about them, or monetizing them. Apparently, Disney was the litmus test of all the mega corporations. They're the easiest to defund in America because they produce only elective things. They committed themselves, admittedly, to social justice due to the Parental Rights Act. Well, they were doing it longer than that, I would argue. Social justice. Look at movies like The Last Jedi. That was in 2017. Yet conservatives, libertarians are still funding their movies, parks, and other entertainment assets. That's what largely separates leftists from others. They won't ever fund you or your efforts, but you fund them even when presented with this information. Until this voluntary support reaches near zero from conservatives and libertarians, I don't think we're big enough of the market share. I don't think people who are aware of the social justice or even those who are necessarily, say you got a little girl. I got a little girl. You know what she likes? She likes Mickey Mouse. But, she's just kind of disabled. I think I might, she wants Mickey Mouse. I'm gonna get her Mickey Mouse, guys. I don't think my boycott matters. I think that maybe there's other things I could do, though, to raise awareness about this. We'll get to that. I think we should talk about it. Disney should be an example of what you are capable of doing. They cannot get by on having strictly leftist customers. They lost $1.5 billion in revenue from streaming services last quarter. This is, as we can see, a small chunk of the pie. They rake in tens of billions of dollars every single year, regardless of the boycott. I don't want to support them. Particularly, I don't like what they're doing. But you know what? 80% of publicly traded companies, according to KPMG, are touting these green sustainability goals. The SEC's got a new climate disclosure rule. They're going to impose ESG on U.S. publicly traded corporations. Soon it's going to be impossible not to, just by going shopping, back some of these corporations that are doing this woke crap, especially the DEI stuff. You don't support DEI. You think it's just in entertainment? No, it's in pharmaceuticals. It's in, every type of publicly traded company you can think of. It has these racial and gender hiring quotas. We're seeing it exposed on Capitol Hill at private schools. We're conservatives. We support private education, right? Well, guess what? They're violating Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Maybe we should raise awareness about that. Maybe DEI is illegal under federal law, under the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And maybe a Barry Goldwater supporter wouldn't support enforcing the Civil Rights Act, but maybe the rest of us who overwhelmingly support the Civil Rights Act could actually fucking enforce it. And then, you could actually try to straighten things out at these corporations that are the reason they're able to do this is because of human resources. you have racial and gender hiring quotas, and you're emphasizing that. Well, guess who's going to make all the movies? Guess who's going to make all of the all of the comic books? It's not going to be people who. It's not going to be merit based. It's going to be based upon this kind of affirmative action. But these companies are clearly profitable. And so why cherry pick the streaming services? I mean, so we could get super chats, maybe? I don't know. Is that cynical? Are we investing in a fucking pipe dream here? Or should we invest in, the dreams of these artists? Maybe we should back Black Phantom. Maybe we should back The Good Night, Paradise Lost. Maybe we should back Hotel Story and Kit Carter and She. Maybe that's more worthwhile. Maybe the indies are the only salvation, and hope that these art forms will continue. We can pass on the torch to younger creators like Narwhal. I think Narwhal is amazing. Mark Millar is praising Narwhal. I think Narwhal, like, if this was a healthy comic book industry, the big two would have already scooped him up. They'd be letting him do whatever he wants. They'd say, Narwhal, what can you do for us? Write some great stories for us. Aren't they hiring Narwhal? He's one of the best creators. He does everything. He does the writing, he does the drawing, and he does the coloring, and he cranks out 100 pages. And he's typically on time. Not that it matters. I think that this is all very important. So, I think that this is kind of cynical, though, to tell people he says this is the white pill. They lost 1.5 million in streaming services, but they make a hell of a lot of money in other avenues such as parks. So here's a little bit of honesty. We'll give Eric July credit. He's noting the fact that the streaming services are whatever loss they have there is more than offset. This is a white pill. You have all of the power, more power than you realize, and underestimate your capabilities when you're focused. I would just say that, it's definitely, I don't oppose boycotts, but if you look at a company like Anheuser-Busch sells Bud Light, there was a big boycott. They're posting profits too. We can do I think I've already done that. The design to fail. Just go in my YouTube channel. For the few of you who are watching, I was on time with my stream today, so you can't say I was late with my stream. I started right on time, guys. And it doesn't matter if I have a huge number of subscribers, really doesn't matter, because facts are facts. Either macrotrends.net is getting it wrong. Disney is not a profitable corporation. And they're supposed to be compiling these corporate quarterly reports and putting out this information. It's either true or it's not true. I could be wrong, guys. I could be wrong about this. I'd love to be proven wrong. Disney's going broke. They'll be gone tomorrow. They're going to file for bankruptcy any fucking minute now. But I don't think that's true. I don't think they're going bankrupt. And I think that anyone who's saying they are, maybe that's what's cynical. Maybe that's, I'd rather back a late book than waste money on a YouTube channel, frankly, that's going to lie to me. I don't watch these guys anyways. I got better shit to do. I'd rather watch Ethan Van Sciver. He's funny. And, and you know what? He was willing to consider this information. He was willing to consider this information and to let it out there. Since then, I went to my boss. I said, hey, we need to start talking about this. We need to start promoting this at Americans for Limited Government. And you know what happened? Just in a couple years. So it's been 2 years since I did this program, and then almost nobody was talking about ESG. Suddenly ESGs, a lot of people are talking about it a year later. And then House Republicans actually got to work. We promoted the shit out of this. And we're going out with our newsletter every day, 5 days a week. Right now we're on vacation, so I actually had some time to do some videos over my vacation. I'll probably have less time once the new year begins. So I'm spending some time with my family, but I'm spending some time with you today because I wanted to let you know what's going on with this stuff. Will House Republicans be able to defund ESG this year? And they actually have proposals in the annual appropriations bills. Labor HHS is one of them. Also, financial services appropriations bills actually have defunds for the government policies that I've been calling attention to. And I could not be more happy. These proposals were made even before Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, was deposed. So actually the House Republicans were well on top of this, particularly the Appropriations Committee. Let's take a look at that. Here it is. Here's the ESG rule, section 118 of the Labor HHS, HR 5894. No federal funds may be made available to administer, implement, or enforce the rule entitled Prudence and Loyalty in Selecting Plan Investments and Exercising Shareholder Rights, dated December 1, 2022. Since the Labor Department updated ESG rule, so they would defund that. Let's see. Now, what does that mean? It means that basically the Labor Department would not be able to enforce this regulation, to administer, implement, or enforce. And so therefore, pension administrators who for defined benefit or defined contribution plans, they wouldn't be required or whatever. They wouldn't have to consider ESG factors. So that's only 1/3 of it. So what else is being done? Let's see here. Here's the thrift savings plan. None of the section 754 of HR 4664. This is financial services. None of the funds made available by this act or any other act may be used to make investments under the thrift savings plan in certain mutual funds to make investments decisions based primarily on environmental, social, and governance criteria. So this would eliminate the federal government subsidy of ESG. And so, in fact, there was more we could do. Quite honestly, there was more we could do than simply boycott. We could have been talking about ESG. These really large YouTube channels, they could have been talking about ESG this entire time, but they thought it would demoralize you. If we could have raised more awareness. Why? Why do we need to raise more awareness? Well, let's get one. There's one more defund here. Here is the let's see, climate disclosure rule. I think this is financial services as well. Section 550. None of the funds made available in this act may be used to finalize, implement, or enforce the proposed rule entitled the Enhancement and Standardization of Climate-related Disclosures for Investors, or any substantially similar rule. Okay, so here's this is going to take care of the SEC wants to impose particularly the E of ESG, environmental carbon disclosure rules. You're going to have a carbon credit score for companies. They're trying to eliminate what they call greenwashing, what the Biden administration calls greenwashing. Companies that will say they're sustainable, 80% of companies say that they're going to have sustainable goals. Are they really sustainable? Well, the SEC is going to make sure that they're sustainable. So you're going to have basically carbon regulations coming from the SEC on publicly traded corporations. So I've been talking about a war on paper this week. I think they're going to win the war on paper because the SEC is going to make it so that it's so damn expensive to use paper that no one can afford to do it. Just like Obama made coal so damn expensive with his regulations that he put coal out of business. Everyone transitioned to natural gas. And then by the time the Supreme Court found it unconstitutional, coal is already going away. So these things are being implemented and these regulations are in force. And we haven't defunded them yet. Why? Because we haven't passed them yet. These bills, they're sitting on the floor of the House of Representatives right now because people aren't talking about them. Why aren't they doing that? That's amazing. Why would I mean, here's another one. You see Harvard and MIT and the University of Pennsylvania coming to testify in Capitol Hill about their, in my view, illegal DEI programs that violate Title VII, the Civil Rights Act, with racial and gender hiring quotas, and are clearly designed to bring in as many radicals to work in these organizations, whether it's universities, private universities, or private corporations as possible. They have a provision that would take care of this as well. They're going to get rid of it in public education. Bill Ackman's been talking a lot about this. Follow Bill Ackman. Barry Weiss has been talking a lot about this. And there's a Commerce Science Justice bill failed. There's the other appropriations bills that are failing right now. But they could defund these things right now. Here's the FAFSA. Here HR 5894. That's Labor, HHS, and Education. We are talking about this bill. None of the funds made available by this act may be used to implement, administer, apply, enforce, or carry out any diversity, equity, and inclusion office, program, or training. It also defunds DEI hiring practices for the federal government in Section 531. So why aren't these bills passing? What happened to the appropriations process? I thought getting rid of Speaker McCarthy was going to help these appropriations bills get to the floor. Oh, I know why. Matt Gaetz is blocking them on the floor. In fact, he blocked the bill that was going to stop the censorship on Twitter via the federal government. Federal government's colluding with, or they were, with Twitter, but also with Facebook, with YouTube, other social media. They have provisions to get rid of the censorship in these funding bills. But Matt Gaetz won't pass them. He won't bring them up. He doesn't want, he's blocking stuff still. I guess the numbers are too big or something like that. But these regulations are really freaking important. Now, how many of the people who are saying that we shouldn't pay attention to things like ESG or whatever, I'm not saying Eric July per se, but just in general, like how many people were supporting Matt Gaetz get rid of the speaker who actually put forward all these provisions that actually made it so that these would be included in the appropriations bills? Now, there's going to be a CR. If you do a year-long CR, none of these bills are going to pass. And, you know, I'll have failed. I will be the first to admit you, if these appropriations bills, even if Matt Gaetz is successful in stopping all this legislation from coming to the floor because, I don't know, he's trying to make it so the Democrats control the House of Representatives, who the fuck knows. But he actually went on to an Twitter space, formerly Twitter, hosted by Mario Nawfal, to talk about the importance of these defunds. The guy who got rid of Speaker McCarthy is blocking legislation, and then actually had the gall to go on a Twitter space recently to say that, oh yeah, this is a great idea, we should be doing defunds. He stated, quote, Republicans in the House should be taking a stronger stance on censorship. In my view, we should be putting riders on the funding for CISA and FBI so that anything that would occur there would be so clearly outside the law that it would draw a sanction. And instead, we continue to govern by these continuing resolutions that don't gate resources away from that censorship. That's amazing, because Gaetz was one of the people who voted to block the piece of legislation that would stop this at the Justice Department, HR 5893, the Commerce Science Justice Appropriations Bill. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Here it is. Section 597. None of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available by this act may be used to classify or facilitate the classification of any communications by any United States person as misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, or partner with or fund nonprofit or other organizations that pressure or recommend private companies to censor lawful and constitutionally protected speech of United States persons, including recommending the censoring or removal of content on social media platforms. Now, was that provision perfect? No, it's not perfect, but you know what? It's more than we got right now, but we can't pass it. We can't pass it because people want to grandstand and say that, oh yeah, I've got a great idea, let's defund all this stuff. No shit, Sherlock. Fucking pass the fucking bills already. And these things they're just languishing right there. The Senate Republicans, they have nothing to work with. And you know what they've also done, kind of foolishly in my view? They've taken omnibus bills off the table. You can just consolidate all these appropriations bills with all these riders together and just pass the whole thing in one go as a condition for funding the government. You could defund innumerable amounts of these regulations. I'll give you an example, one that actually worked, one we actually succeeded in. The Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Rule, where the federal government was going to take over local zoning by state and local governments. We've had this thing defunded since 2017. Trump signed it into law. And we got it defunded every single year, I think, except for one when in Biden's first year. It didn't get into that omnibus bill, but it was in every other omnibus bill. But because there was an omnibus bill, we got to stick it in there. And you know who actually offered that amendment? It was Susan Collins. Of all people, Senator Susan Collins got the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing regulation by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, federal government taking over local zoning, telling you where to, where the single family homes are going to go and where the apartment buildings are going to go, et cetera. They were going to control that. But we got to defund it. And it's very important. Matt Gaetz is right. We should be using the appropriations process to pass to get rid of ESG. But it's very questionable whether that's actually going to happen. And one of the reasons, if it doesn't happen, is because people who had large platforms, maybe they should have called more attention to it instead of saying we should ignore it. Maybe they should have been noting the fact that, Disney's pretty darn profitable here. Maybe we need to focus on this DEI stuff. Maybe we can get rid of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and enforce this at the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department. Maybe there's something we can actually do about this. Just saying, we could call more attention to these things. And so, again, just want to do a little truth telling. I think the truth sets you free. I think this is important information. But yeah, get broke, get woke, go broke. When Disney's posting, pretty decent profit still. I don't think they're going bankrupt anytime soon. But let's go to it is what it is. I've said my piece, and we can kind of move on from here. Here we go. We have some chats here. We've been on for about 45 minutes. Let's see. K-Sis says, we're watching, Robert. Thank you for watching, K-Sis. I'm not alone here. Here's Improbi. Disney has their hands in many businesses to absorb losses. They also have tremendous amounts invested in real estate, too. It would take a lot to knock down an empire like Disney. I agree. And I think the fact that they're violating federal law means we should probably call attention to federal laws, especially, if we're concerned about these discriminatory hiring practices that have resulted in many older creators to be jettisoned from whether it's DC Comics or Marvel Comics. I did a video yesterday saying that Rob Liefeld, why don't they make him the editor-in-chief? And it's like, oh, I know why. Because they would sell millions of copies and they'd have to cut down a bunch of trees to keep up with the demand for all the Marvel comics. And X-Men and everything else would be turned around in a heartbeat. He would bring in all the right people. And you could, Rob Liefeld could save Marvel Comics. The act of a single man could come in and as editor-in-chief and fix what's going wrong at Marvel Comics. I bet you that's true. They haven't forgotten how to tell good stories. This shit's supposed to suck. They can afford to subsidize this propaganda. They're going to keep on doing it. And no, they're not going to lose any fucking money because these parent corporations are massively subsidized, both by BlackRock or Vanguard. You have the Thrift Savings Plan. These companies are raking in billions of dollars otherwise via licensing. The theme parks, or July was noting, they still make money on theme parks. It's not because we're not boycotting this stuff. It's that no matter where you turn, it's like, oh, well, I'll cancel Disney Plus, but okay, I'll use Hulu. You know what? Disney owns Hulu. You have to cancel almost everything that you participate in. If you want, you should cancel YouTube. You should cancel, get rid of your Facebook. Get rid of your Adobe. Stop using Photoshop. All of these companies. I was publishing a letter from the Human Rights Campaign. I think it was. They had over 300 corporations whose stuff that you purchase that were opposing Ron DeSantis's and other types of legislation in states that would ban transgender surgery for minors. And you probably support all these products. So I don't think you can boycott everything. But I thank you for joining me. For those who are listening, it doesn't matter if I have a big sub count on my YouTube channel. The facts are the facts. Again, prove me wrong. Prove to me that these companies are going to go bankrupt any minute now. I don't think they are. In the meantime, I'd rather invest in true artists. On Indiegogo, you can support these creators. At Fund My Comic, you can support these creators and support real dreams and not pipe dreams. This is Robert Romano with Comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good evening.